All right, one last story. I'm sure this will take us to the end.
Okay.
This was something that was circulated around our good friend Jan Patrick from Finland. He sent this over to me.
Yeah.
He said, you need to cover this. I saw this pop up on the CMS Facebook this week as well.
Okay.
Threatening the band.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They apparently toured to empty venues.
Right.
Okay. As anyone who grew up in the internet age will tell you, there is a big difference between being internet famous and being real world famous.
Correct.
That's us.
That is us. We are internet famous.
Yeah. If you and I tried to go out and do personal appearances at the House of Blues or something like that, there would be nobody there.
Yeah, they'd be like, who?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Take, for example, the LA band Threatenin'. That is Threatin.
Yeah.
We're threatening to come to your town, pal.
Yeah, we're threatening those big crowds.
Exactly. You've likely never heard of them, and yet they have tens of thousands of likes on their
Facebook.
Exactly. Facebook page.
Of course they do.
Thousands of views on their YouTube videos, and the making of what appears to be a strong internet following.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's a big thing. If you don't have to leave your house, you can be a big fan of anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But leaving your house and going to an event, that takes a little effort.
Sure.
And in this day and age, a lot of people won't make that effort.
Right.
They just won't make the effort.
Dude, and once we get into this, well, I'll tell it now. So you remember more than a couple, almost 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I was working with a record label. You remember that?
Yes.
I was working the record label signed a band. I'm not going to say who, because they're nice people and they're good people. But this band convinced the label to sign them based on their social media following.
Okay.
They had at their peak, I think it was 250,000 followers or friends or whatever it is on Facebook.
250,000
people. Roughly the same number on fucking Twitter as well. So they had a big internet presence. And they were a band that nobody really had heard of. They were not known, but they had this huge fucking internet following, right?
Okay, they had a social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they convinced the label signs them. Label put in, Jesus Christ, it had to be $10,000 worth of production cost.
Okay.
Because they did a really, really nice booklet for their CD. They did buy-ins on all of the major news sites for their, I forget what they're called, but they're like skins, like on like Blabbermouth, the left and the right side around the columns.
Yeah. What is it? Just internet.
Yeah, it's just the skin of the website.
Yeah, I get it.
And I know they did this because I had to design them for every one of these fucking sites. The site would give me a specific, specific measurements.
Yeah, dimension and everything. Sure.
And I had to make all the parts to fill it all in.
Okay.
So I know that the label put in just significant money on this band.
Sure. They paid you and they paid the internet sites and they paid everybody. And
they also booked a tour. The label did. The label booked a tour for this band, like 40 cities, 40 city tour. So they spent a shit ton of money for this band. Two, maybe 3 videos lead into the record being released. Got them on all the right interviews, got all this hype done. And again, this band had 250,000 followers on both of the major socials.
You don't have to reveal it was Night Demon, but okay, go ahead.
It's a Night Demon. I'll text you who it is.
It doesn't matter. I was just making a joke. But do
you know who this band is?
Let me see.
There.
Not really, no.
Yeah, exactly. So they put the record out.
Okay.
It sells 600 copies.
Yeah, of course, because clicking a like and following somebody on social media takes nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean all the numbers. If you just bought into the numbers, you would totally believe that they should be selling a ton. They
Of course.
Big following when they put out their videos. Their videos did big numbers. I mean, everything was right except for when it came time to spend $10 on their disc.
Of course, nobody's going to spend money, especially with everything leading up to that is for free.
Yeah, exactly.
And and you and I both know this because, I'm going to say that this year, 2018, has been a banner year for selling CMS shirts.
Sure.
But up until then, I've had CMS shirts available for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm going to say in the last 10 years, I maybe have sold 1,000 shirts.
Okay.
Okay, so that's like 10, what is that, 100 shirts a year or something?
Year, 2 a week?
Yeah. Then not much. People don't put their money where their mouth is, per se.
Right. Sure. No, I get it. Crazy.
It's just fact. It's just fact.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was a unique story that kind of leads into where you're going.
Sure, absolutely. But social media is free. Doesn't cost you a goddamn thing.
Yep, and YouTube is free. You can actually hear the band for free.
Of course. So to give somebody a like or be a follower or whatever costs you nothing.
Yeah, nothing at all.
But to leave your house and go to a venue and go see them, buy a ticket, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Just going to go watch the YouTube thing. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah, whatever.
Good, especially for a band that you don't really know.
Yeah, of course.
That's not, been popular for 20 years or whatever.
I get it. That's why I don't, and the thing is I've been kind of a little bit of a ball buster here on the show over, the times that we have done a lot of interviews. I always ask the bands, we're going to launch this tour and we're going to tour across the states and blah, blah, blah. And I would always ask them, so where are you going to play? What do you have? Well, we're just working on that now, man.
Exactly. Our booking agent's taking care of that.
Yeah.
For
It's like, unless you get on a package tour,
yeah,
nobody's going to come out and see you. You're not going to,
exactly.
We had the, not to knock anybody, but we had the Summer Bash.
Sure.
And we had Every Mother's Nightmare. We had our good friends Red Rain. We had Tough. People made the trek out from the West Coast. We had people come up from the South. We had people come from the East. We had people come over. How many people would you say attended that show?
200 maybe?
200 maybe.
Yeah.
And that was months and months and months in planning. Lots of social media. We talked about it almost every week.
Yeah.
You and I both went to the show. We both broadcast live. These are quote unquote national bands, national acts.
Yep.
And 200 people.
Yeah. Yep. That's the way of the world today.
That's reality.
Yep.
Our good friend Andrew McNeese, he puts on that Melodic Rock Fest.
Yeah.
He comes over from Australia, of all places, books, 25, 30 bands over a 3-day period. Maybe gets a total of, 3,000 people over 3 days or something?
I think that's really high, too.
And again, that is a high number.
I would say half of that.
Yeah, 1,500 people.
Yeah, I don't
over
think
3
any day
days
gets more than 500. Do you?
Over accumulation, I don't know.
I can't think of one of those 3 days. It seemed like there's more than 500 people there.
Yeah. So, this is months and months and months in planning. Lots of social media, lots of advertising, lots of, interviews and this and that. And the day comes, or the days come, and over a 3-day period, you don't even get 1,000 people.
Yeah, it's crazy. Definitely nuts, man. It's a different world.
So people aren't going to put their money out there. They're not going to even leave their house. It's like, I can watch that on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and they do.
Yeah, cool. I'll download it for free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to buy a shirt. I'm not going to buy a CD. I can listen to it on YouTube, whatever.
Well, dude, and even the concert stuff, you know, while I am much more active these days doing concerts, I will openly admit that I'm guilty of this as well. A lot of the bands, when they play certain festivals, the festivals do really, really solid video work and audio work, like Wacken is one. When the Wacken tour plays, I don't know if you've ever watched any of those videos, but they are mint.
I have seen them.
They're mint and they sound great. Pop that on my TV. I mean, not a band that I'm a super huge fan of, but I'll use one that's a specific example. Saxon.
Okay.
Saxon came here, but I was able to watch them first on the Wacken show.
Sure.
And that was good enough. That was good enough for me. I watched them play in real time, so it was almost live, and I watched them on my big screen TV.
Mm-hmm.
Sounded great.
And you were closer than you probably would have been at the live venue.
Exactly. So I just watched that and was like, all right, I've seen them for the year. Good.
Sounded great.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Good enough. You know, now if it's a band that I really want to see, then that's another thing. But, man, the ability to just watch it at home,
sure,
I'll take that just about every time.
I agree. All right. Getting back to this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Where were we? You've likely never heard of them, and yet they have tens of thousands of likes on their Facebook page, thousands of views on their YouTube videos, and the makings of what appears to be a strong internet following. Despite all this, NME reports that Threatening is currently in the midst of a UK tour, playing exclusively to empty venues. But this isn't part of the case of foolhardy young band overestimating their own popularity. This story is much more bizarre than that.
Right.
As it turns out, every one of those thousands of Facebook fans and YouTube comments have been bought and paid for by the band.
Oh, jeez.
So basically, they pumped up their own hype. That might explain why last weekend, when Threatening was scheduled to play a show at the Exchange in Bristol to a crowd of at least 180 people, nobody showed up.
Nobody. That's awesome.
The venue was rightfully furious that the promoters had lied to them about the ticket sales and then demanded that Threatening pay for the staff costs before playing their set to nearly an empty room.
Well, why would the band pay that? The club booked it.
I guess I don't know what the agreement was.
Unless it was a pay-to-play ticket thing.
I don't know.
You know, it's funny.
Recently, Twitter user Buzzing Bugs
Oh.
That's him. Shared a post explaining that this bizarre bait and switch was not a one-time thing for this band. A club in Camden, London called the Underworld commented of Threatening's Facebook page asking, "What happened to the 291 advanced ticket sales your agent said you'd sold? 3 people turned up."
Well, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So those other 289 people just ate their tickets.
I guess. What's more, all existing live videos the band online either shot from an audience so that the band is out of frame or are framed so poorly that only the long-haired sole band member is visible.
Nice.
Earlier today, NME attempted to shed some light on what the fuck is happening here and spoke with Billy Bingham of the band Ghost of Machines, who had the pleasure of opening for Threatening at their show at the Exchange. Bingham says that he and his bandmates were initially stunned by the whole experience and were uncertain if they'd even be asked to play to an audience-less house. So nobody's there.
That's hilarious. Why would you play?
Yeah, again, we've said this, I can't tell you how many times over the years.
Yeah.
There is no music scene anymore.
There's really not.
There's no record labels. There's no promotion. There's no hype. There's no outlet to hear music unless you search it out for yourself on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The only way that any band going back to, 60s, 70s, 80s,
yeah,
the only reason you know about those bands is because some commercial outlet fed it to you.
Sure.
If you got to go seek it for yourself,
mm-hmm.
chances are you're going to forget about it.
Right.
And the only reason you and I and everybody who listens to our music, our classic metal,
mm-hmm.
is because we heard it in the 80s.
Yeah, of course.
The radio stations played it. Every other hour was the new Judas Priest single or the new Queensryche or the new Dokken or whatever it is that you like.
Right.
You heard it on the radio. Without that being fed to you,
right,
nobody gives a shit.
Right. Dude, in your history of seeing shows, what do you think is the smallest crowd you've ever seen at a gig?
Enough's Enough.
Which was how many?
Probably 10.
10. That was the one in Valpo?
No, I went to the one out in Chicago. It was Brittany Fox and Enough's Enough. It was like Tommy Paris with like 4 other guys or 3 other guys.
All right.
And Chips Enough with, whatever lineup he had.
Right.
It wasn't, Donnie wasn't even part of this lineup. I think it was, who was singing for them?
Monaco?
Yeah, Monaco. He was singing.
All right.
And there was probably 10 people in this place.
It's funny.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't a huge place, but there was like 10 people there.
Right. Yeah. That's hard, man. That is, dude, I have 2 that come immediately to mind. And one's a big name band, actually. It was the one had 6 paid, and I know this to be true because I even asked the club owner who I was friends with. It was at the old Peabody's. I saw, before they were famous, Godsmack.
Okay.
And they played for 6 fucking people.
Yeah.
And they were nobody, but they were good. I will say they were very good. They played their asses off for 6 people. But the worst, even though it had a few more than 6, was, you remember when Matt and I used to do shows? We used to bring in bands and do shows.
Yeah, of course.
We brought in this band called Gargantua Soul.
Okay.
Which was, it was I'm not throwing Matt under the bus, but this was a Matt pick. This was not a band that I was very into at all. And we tried to play them on the show. It got 0 buzz. And I mean, we played it for weeks. Played like 2 shows a week or 2 songs a week for 6, 8 fucking weeks, trying to lead people to this show. Gargantua Soul. So, show night comes, was at the Revolution. I mean, nobody's in this fucking club. If there were 10, I would be surprised. And they come out, and they're all dressed like Indians.
Indians.
Okay. With like, kind of like the Man-O-War look, like the Man-O-War, what do you call that? The loincloth?
Yeah, loincloth, of course.
But they had the face paint on, like Indian war paint or something.
All right.
And the show was so poorly attended that at some point the singer jumped off the fucking stage and had everybody that was there sit around him in a circle.
Okay, like a little tom-tom circle.
Yeah, and he sat in the middle singing, like he was on his knees and he was like turning.
All right.
Almost to sing individually to each person.
Yeah, he was trying to make the best of whatever it was, right?
Before he jumped up and just started going crazy. And then the 8-10 people, whatever, in the place started going crazy with them. But it was I was embarrassed to be there. I mean, it was just embarrassing fucking seeing 10 people trying to mosh in an empty room. It was fucking tragic and sad. Just pathetic, man.
Well, again, internet famous doesn't make you world famous.
Yep, that is true.
I mean, and we know that as personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys, gals who listen to us, you think we're just like major stars. Outside of our circle, we're nobody.
Yep.
That's the truth.
It is the truth.
Okay. Which, by the way, again, I'm just going to mention this. Probably within a matter of hours, we're going to cross 5 million downloads.
Look at us.
On Spreaker, but that means nothing.
Yeah.
5 million. I agree. 5 million is major, but that doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, and we're right at 2 million on YouTube. We've got a lot of numbers. Doesn't mean dick, but
doesn't mean shit.
Yep.
All right, to finish up the story, I believe from what I heard that evening, that was the promoter who had duped Threatening, and I feel sorry for him. Hence why we watched his set list. It wasn't until hours and days after that I realized everything about his online presence is a lie.
Right.
And that he probably knew about everything beforehand, even before booking the tour. I feel angry that the acts like this exist. Who buy likes, comments, and YouTube plays and then book reputable venues and lie about ticket sales? So again, it's buying your own hype.
Yeah.
What's still not clear about the whole ruse is who exactly benefits from this. Threatening pretends to have fans and then book shows where they are forced to pay venue fees and perform to an empty room. The whole thing sounds expensive and emotionally taxing. With that said, if Threatening is playing a venue near you, definitely get a ticket. This circus might be well worth seeing in person.
I wonder if they thought that just because they had shows that people would actually show up.
I think that's what it is. I think it goes back to that, how does that old saying goes, build it and they will come.
Yeah.
I think that's the attitude.
That's just insanity.
Well, I agree.
Dude, the major bands have trouble getting 300 people these days. And I was just at that Hair Nation show. That barely did 500 people. That's 3 bands.
Right.
If it did, I don't know that it did 500 people. Honestly, I don't.
And that gets major exposure via XM Sirius satellite.
Yeah, every single day. All day long. It's nonstop advertisement for that. And it did, 300, 400, maybe 500 people. I don't know. It's crazy.
It is. It's always believing the hype, man.
Boy, those promoters had to be fucking furious.
Of course, but you know what? Before they even started that tour, and you got called out on Facebook by our good friend Chips Enough.
Yeah.
Because you were stating reality about that. And he goes, dude, what are you doing, man? Can't you be supportive?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I can be supportive, but this is the reality. Nobody's going to show up to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I was pleasantly surprised in Cleveland. There was more than I thought were going to be there.
Okay.
And that's the truth. I thought I was going to be one of like 30 people in the room.
All right. So few people did show up. Which
is great. It's great that but those guys have worked hard too, and they made it happen. But man, oh man, it's just the reality of today's world, man. Nobody wants to see this shit anymore.
Of course not.
Not like they used to.
Yeah, because before we didn't have the internet.
Yeah. Well, that's the truth. I mean, think about it, dude. Like, I'm going to see Hailstorm in a few weeks, 26th, whenever that is.
Okay.
And they're playing at the Masonic Temple, which I think holds like 1,500 people or something. Maybe a few more, maybe a few less. I'm not sure. I've never been there, so I'm seeing them there. And I mean, if they would have come out even in the 90s, if Hailstorm would have broke out in the 90s, they would have been, I would say, like a 10,000 seat band. Don't you think? They've had hits. They've got a Grammy. They would probably be on that level.
Okay.
But because today's audience just doesn't go to shows, they fucking play for a tenth of that. Don't you think?
Pretty much.
It's just insane how it works now.
Yeah. Well, again, we've become creatures of social media, and if you want to see anything, doesn't matter what it is, if it's new or old or whatever, all you have to do is pull it up on the internet and you can watch it.
Right.
Just like we talked very early in the show that I pulled up some video footage of Phil Collins.
Yeah.
I didn't need to go to the arena to see Phil Collins sitting in a chair.
No.
I watched that on YouTube, and I go, oh, I'm glad I didn't spend the money to go. And you said the same thing. I'm glad I didn't spend the money to go.
Exactly right.
I got to see Phil Collins. He looks like shit. He's sitting in a chair. He's playing to an arena.
Yeah.
But, I didn't spend $300 to go see it.
Yeah. You saved a good chunk of money just missing a bad show.
Yeah. But I watched it on my big screen here in my comfort of my own living room or my bedroom or wherever. And I didn't even have to leave the house.
Yeah. Like we said, it may not be great, but it's good enough.
Yeah. I saw it. Good enough.
Yep.
Glad I didn't make the trip out. I feel bad for these bands who want to make it today, but that era is over.
Yeah,
it's over.
They can want it all they want, but
if I was in a band today, of course the goal is to go, man, I want to go out and play in front of a bunch of people, and I want them to sing my songs, and I want them to, be fans. But that era is over. It's over.
It's like, dude, right now, one of my projects is working with a record label, with another record label. And one of the big projects I've had lately has been their email, setting up their email system.
Okay.
Because they have, it's a long story, but they use one client, but they want to have different emails coming into the client, blah, blah, blah. But the reason that's important is because I see the email, because I've been logging into the company email and setting things up.
Okay.
So see the emails that are in there. And the number of bands that are still trying to get signed to a label today is astounding to me. I mean, hundreds of emails from hundreds of bands all saying, well, we're a small band out of bup, and we're, it's like, are you guys kidding me? Just put it out yourself. You're gonna make more money, But it's astounding to me that they think that there's still this big mega contract thing to get. That doesn't exist anymore. It's over.
Yeah.
Dude, I was watching. I finally got around to. Remember, you were talking about the CNN documentary of the '90s.
Yes.
And I finally got through the whole 90s thing today, which was very good.
Yeah, it was like, 7 episodes or something?
Yeah. And it was very, very well done. That came out of CNN, because it was very well done. But I think I've got it figured out now, is the 70s was the time for, like, live music, like live festival music. The 80s was the time for music with image.
Yeah, because of MTV.
Yeah. The 90s was the time that music got replaced by TV. And now today is the time where music no longer has value. It's like it's extinct. It's gone away like the dinosaur. It just doesn't have value anymore. And if you watch it in the order, it makes sense. You had, like, even the 50s and 60s, you had the birth of it and the development of it. But now it's just valueless. Now it's the same as a walkie-talkie or a CB radio. It just doesn't have value to anybody. You know, I saw an article today. Andrew McNeese shared it with me. That the album is in jeopardy of just going away completely.
Well, we've talked about that to artists here on the show. It's just like, why do you record a full-length album?
Well, and the sales are proving it now.
Yeah.
Because sales this year are cut in half from last year of full albums.
Yeah. So, you know, again, I think Stephen Pearcy, people like that, had it right, where they just release one single at a time.
Yeah. Which is lousy for me and you, for collectors, you know, people that collect music. I hate that. I hate just having singles, but it looks like that's going to be the way it is going forward. You know, and the industry is bearing out that fact that albums are going to die, or at least they're going to go heavily underground.
Right.
You know, but you're going to see more and more that there's no reason. And part of it is there's no excitement anymore for it. Nobody's sitting around waiting for the new, forget our music, for the new whatever, Eminem or Lil Wayne or whatever's popular today. I don't even know what's popular today, but 21 Pilots. Nobody's sitting around waiting for fucking 10 songs from them. Everybody's good if they hear one tune that's fucking played in a episode of the new Magnum PI or whatever. It's like, okay, good enough. You know, music is just has no fucking value anymore.
Well, I think one of my staple questions when I do an interview is like, why do you do a full album? Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I'm old school, and this is the way it's done, and this is what we've always done, and we got this collection of songs, and, you know, and the thing is, it drops on Friday, and it's gone by the following Friday.
Yeah, it would make more sense if they just threw one song out every 2 months. You know, just throw a single song out there. People buy it for $1. See, that's what the artists just fail to understand. Like Pearcy just put out his album.
Yeah, Friday.
Good album. 10 songs. They could have stretched that out over 20 months.
Easily. And,
I mean, realistically, how many Stephen Pearcy fans do you think there are that would spend money? 3,000?
If that, yeah.
Let's say 3,000. So if they did 3,000 and they spread it out over, you know, one every 2 months for $1, I would think most of them would spend $1 for the song. And then you go through and figure each person buys like 6 of the 10 songs. So that's $6, you know, because songs are about $1.25 now?
Something like that.
So you take off the quarter for the label or whatever. You got $6 off of a record that in the format that they're releasing it now, they probably don't get half of that.
Right.
You know, it just makes more money for them in the long run. It's crazy, but it is what it is, man.
It's just the facts of life, as
Everything
Natalie would say.
Everything that we love is dead.
It is. It's over.
It's just done. People, society, music, movies, all dead.
It's over.
Yeah, well, just like this show.
Exactly. Speaking of over, it is over.
Yes.
It's been a good show tonight. It went by fast.
Sure did.
Appreciate everybody who's tuned in and been part of the show and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to close out the show with a little bit of Dokken.
Okay.
I think it's an appropriate song.
All right.
Everybody just walk away.
Yeah, right now.
Exactly. All right. This is Neely along with my very good friend,
Riz Hagan.
And we are gone. We'll see you next week.
Bye, kids.
Hi, this is Don Dokken. You're tuned into the Classic Metal Show, the hardest rockin' show on the dial. Keep rockin' with Dokken.